Welcome back to Internet Court Jurors. Today's case begins with a man who believed he was doing everything right. He didn't yell, he didn't insult, he didn't cheat. He simply set what he called a reasonable boundary. Reddit strongly disagreed. The man was 36 years old and recently divorced. After a messy breakup that left him emotionally guarded, he promised himself one thing. His next relationship would be calm, structured, and drama-free. That's when he met Lily. She was warm, expressive, social, the kind of person who thrived on connection. She worked in marketing, had a wide friend group, and was close with her coworkers. At first, he admired that about her, but admiration slowly turned into discomfort. Lily talked about her coworkers a lot. Group chats, happy hours, office inside jokes. One name kept coming up more than the others. Evan, a coworker, married, friendly, harmless, according to her. But to him, it didn't feel harmless. Not because of anything Evan did, but because of how often Lily mentioned him. One night, after Lily laughed at a message from Evan during dinner, he finally spoke up. He told her calmly that it made him uncomfortable how close she seemed with male coworkers. Lily looked surprised. She said Evan was married. She said it was purely professional. She said she'd never given him a reason not to trust her. The conversation ended quietly, but the feeling didn't. He didn't think he was being jealous. He thought he was being proactive. He told himself, boundaries prevent problems. And so, a week later, he revisited the topic. This time he was clearer. He said he wasn't asking her to quit her job. He wasn't asking her to cut people off. He just wanted one thing: no private conversations with male coworkers outside of work hours. To him, that felt reasonable. To Lily, it felt different. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stared at him and asked, "Do you think I can't be trusted?" He answered honestly. He said, "It's not about trust. It's about respect." That's when she went quiet. And when Lily went quiet, it usually meant she was done explaining herself. A week later, Lily sat him down. She said she'd been thinking. She told him she felt monitored. She felt restricted. She felt like she was being punished for something she hadn't done. He reminded her, again, that this was a boundary. She corrected him. "Boundaries are about what you do. Rules are about what I'm allowed to do." That distinction hit him harder than he expected. Confused and frustrated, he turned to Reddit. He titled the post, "Am I the a-hole for setting boundaries about my girlfriend's male coworkers?" He emphasized, he never accused her of cheating. He never checked her phone. He just wanted peace of mind. And then he asked the question he truly believed had an obvious answer. "Isn't this what healthy boundaries look like?" Reddit did not answer gently. Top comment: "That's not a boundary. That's control with better branding." Another wrote, "If you don't trust her around men, you don't trust her. Full stop." Someone else added, "You're dating an adult, not setting workplace policy." But then, the pushback came. A smaller group defended him. One commenter said, "People are allowed to have comfort levels." Another argued, if she cared, she'd compromise. The thread exploded into debates about emotional labor, post-divorce trauma, where boundaries actually end. And as he read, something unsettling happened. He didn't feel vindicated, he felt exposed. One comment stopped him completely. "If the only way you feel secure is by limiting someone else's freedom, you're not ready for a relationship." He reread it several times, and for the first time, he wondered if the calm he wanted was actually control disguised as safety. That night, Lily packed a bag. She didn't accuse him. She didn't argue. She simply said, "I don't want to slowly shrink just to make someone else comfortable." They broke up a few days later. He updated Reddit, admitting that maybe he had confused boundaries with fear. Some applauded the honesty. Others said the damage was already done. And that brings us back to Internet Court Jurors. This wasn't a story about cheating, or betrayal, or even jealousy. It was a story about where control begins and who pays the price for it. Because sometimes the line between protection and possession is thinner than people want to admit. You don't lose people because you ask for too much. You lose them because you forget that trust isn't something you enforce. It's something you allow. But the story didn't actually end there. Because after his update went live, Reddit did what Reddit always does. It kept talking. Once readers saw that Lily had left, the tone of the comments shifted. Some people softened. One commenter wrote, "I don't think you're a bad guy. I think you're a hurt guy who tried to feel safe the wrong way." Another added, "Divorce trauma will sneak into your next relationship if you don't unpack it first." But others were less forgiving. One of the most upvoted replies read, "You didn't lose her because of boundaries. You lost her because you tried to manage your anxiety by managing her." That comment sparked hundreds of replies, and suddenly the conversation wasn't about Lily anymore. It was about fear. As the thread grew, jurors began debating a deeper question. When does insecurity become control? Some argued that everyone brings baggage into relationships, and expecting perfection is unrealistic. Others said that trauma explains behavior, but it doesn't excuse it. One commenter put it bluntly, "Your feelings are valid, your restrictions weren't." And that sentence kept coming up again and again in different forms. So let's slow this down for a moment, because this is where Internet Court earns its name. The man didn't spy. He didn't threaten. He didn't demand passwords. On paper, his request sounded calm, mature, even reasonable. But intent isn't the only thing jurors consider. Impact matters. And the impact was this. Lily felt like she had to prove she was trustworthy instead of simply being trusted. One Redditor described it perfectly. The relationship didn't end when he set the rule. It ended when she started editing herself to avoid conflict. That's the part people often miss. Control doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it smiles, sometimes it calls itself respect. Days later, the original poster left one last reply buried deep in the thread. It didn't get many upvotes, but it was honest. He wrote, "I thought boundaries meant protecting the relationship. I didn't realize I was protecting myself from feelings I didn't want to face." That comment didn't erase what happened, but it changed how some jurors viewed the case. And this is where Internet Court pauses, not to punish, but to examine. Because this case wasn't about villains or victims. It was about what happens when fear quietly takes the driver's seat, when past pain starts writing future rules, when love turns into a negotiation instead of a choice. Healthy boundaries don't limit someone else's freedom. They define what you will do when trust is broken. And when boundaries become rules, relationships stop being partnerships and start feeling like permission slips. So jurors, was he protecting the relationship or protecting himself at her expense? Court is adjourned. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, be sure to hit like and subscribe.